All right, Brad, we're going to start with your story, then we'll get into the business. But how did you accidentally fall into franchising? What's your franchise backstory?
Man, what a great question. So was in the Coast Guard, started coaching basketball after I got out of the Coast Guard, high school, college basketball coach. Did not really like my time as a college basketball coach. Didn't like the recruiting aspect of it. All I really wanted to do was just kind of be around kids and help coach kids. And at that time, super lucky, basketball technology, really sport analytics was kind of hitting the market in a big way, especially basketball tech. So got on with a group that we took to market a piece of technology called 9450s, a small little censored basketball, where we took a bunch of measurements and things like that. So after taking to market, we did this big speaking circuit. We were at Sloan Analytics. We were at CES. Once you navigate kind of up into that world, it gets pretty small, especially so niche as basketball. Met the founders, the original 4 founders of Shoot 360. And after we packaged up and kind of sold off 9450, I jumped on board with Shoot 360 as they were just kind of in conceptual design and trying to figure out how to scale. It's the reason why they brought me in was to scale operations. That would have been 2014-ish. We opened up 3 locations, Beaverton, Vancouver, and LA, all different square footage and kind of different offerings, but with the same core product from a membership and training perspective from our proprietary technology. Then we opened up a location in Indiana just to see, obviously we wanted to be in a blue blood state from a basketball standpoint, but also really stretch our support to see what it was like to support a location that far away. Corporate growth is very expensive, as you probably know. So we decided the franchise model. And the way I kind of describe it is, hey, man, we're just all a bunch of idiot basketball coaches who created some very awesome technology. And now we're all drinking through the hose of the FTC and franchise compliance laws, and really just going and doing, learning by doing. Our president and founder, Craig Moody, was kind of the first one out of the gate, learning the franchise system world. And then after he kind of blazed a trail through the thick brush, he said, Butter, go and conquer. And, I just learned from him, who was able to pass on a lot of good lessons, but still a lot of lesson learning. So we came to our first franchise location late 2019, early 2020, and now are operating 57 locations worldwide. And that COVID era was really good to us, actually, because everybody closed down and we were a perfect COVID model, 1 player, 1 hoop, 1 player, 1 skill court. I think we opened up 16, 18 locations within the COVID era, and then just really took off from there. So yeah, 57 locations around the world, and we got about another 12 to open up this year.
What a great opening statement. So curious, as I hear tremendous technology, really sound business. You're not thinking about franchising necessarily at the start of it. You're building just really good infrastructure, and then obviously leveraging franchisees and their investment to get this thing scaling. But because you put in all that work, did that change who your candidate was? Were you more protective in the early stages, or were you less protective and you were just excited to have buyers coming in?
I love this question. You would like to say that we were more protective, right? But we didn't know what we didn't know. And the good news is that we ended up opening up quite a bit of locations with some really good partners. Mm-hmm. But because we were just kind of operating in that I don't know what I don't know, there were definitely some challenges. There was challenges of supporting those franchisees. There were challenges on the franchisees from an operational, standpoint, and from just an avatar, like the right type of operator versus owner. And so I would say the really good thing about our executive leadership at the ownership level is, hey, let's get around other franchisors and see if we can't pick the brain of people and try to learn from them. I think that's the one thing about basketball coaches is, hey, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here. Just let me sit in the video room with this other coach and let's just kind of get better at what we're trying to do. And so through a lot of that, we learned a ton. And getting our legacy, we call them legacy franchisees, successful was a long road, but we've done a really good job at that. Throughout the course of that journey, we've kind of defined what our 3 avatars are. And that's where we kind of point our marketing dollars to go get those operators and owners.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. I think if I know nothing about franchising, I'm falling into it. It's almost and frankly, those that are in it are still stuck in this too. But it's almost like you over celebrate the sale of the franchise versus over indexing on the person who is going to scale, which will equal more money in royalty. And so, like, the whole industry is backwards. It's about selling franchises, not developing franchisees. And so they don't look at, like, what could this franchisee be worth to our bottom line? They look at it like, oh, can we sell a franchisee in? And then the problem is they get in there if they were underqualified from a capital standpoint or from a grit or hustle standpoint. If one of those two ingredients are missing, then all of a sudden their performance declines and the odds of them scaling decline, which means you have to over-index on the support model. And so it's interesting because, again, like from a structural standpoint, technology is there, rewarded, you've built the infrastructure, and now you're going to open up these gates, but without having someone that can look at it logically, not go sell franchises, it's a hard place to be in. And obviously you've recovered because you're at 57, right?
Yeah, and there's one thing that isn't mentioned there is like what is the strategic play? What is the board expecting, or what are your investors expecting? And so what are we telling the bank? So there's a lot of kind of back end things where it's like, okay, hey, look, we've got this capital campaign, or we have this board expectation, and so you got to there's tension that kind of exists between the strategy at play and the tactical logistics. And many times that strategy kind of overplays, your tactics and logistics. And so I think what we've done a really, really good job at is kind of in that interplay that happens between, all three of those levels.
I enjoy this statement for the love of the game. Obviously, when there's good business around, sometimes the love of the game might not be the driver, even though a candidate wants to convince you that there's a love of the game. You said there's a whole bunch of former coaches sitting around trying to figure this thing out. Has that translated over to the franchisee, or has that opened up, like, not necessarily a risk area, but if people are looking at it as business and not so much as the passion piece, does that create another thing that you have to make sure you're protective of in the sales process?
Well, navigating to the right avatar is huge there. So, you would think that former college basketball coaches may be our best owner and operator, but there's challenges there. Basketball coaches are philosophers, and we can die on the hill of philosophy a lot of times. And at the end of the day, we want our owners and operators to teach back to the technology, rely on that technology, because that's what's going to make you scalable. Coming in through my career, through 9450, I had a lot of advantages because I saw the market from a basketball facility standpoint, just massive buildings, right? I mean, you have several of them in Chicago, actually, where they're 60, 80, even 120,000 square feet. And they open and they kind of spike and then they die because there's no real backbone of predictable revenue in there. So basketball coaches kind of operate in the mode of how basketball has been experienced for 120 years, where we are trying to flip that paradigm upside down, where it's like experience basketball in a completely different way, actually experience basketball management and operations in a completely different way. And so many times it takes a balance between somebody who's got a passion for basketball and somebody who has experience and skill of business. So our best operators are really somebody that may have played basketball, possibly at a high level, whether that be high school or college, but maybe came out of the finance to tech world or the real estate world. And they got kids that play, and they made a little bit of money, and they're trying to get into some kind of a passion play, but they have the skill of monitoring P&Ls, of developing talent, of, pouring into their staff, of looking onward to vision, things like that. So the basketball coaching thing only gets us so far.
Yeah, I love that answer. I think that's the right avatar, because again, like if you play, I still play basketball every Sunday.
Let's get you into Naperville, man.
Yeah, right. It won't help my shot that much, I promise.
It will, I promise you.
You'll see now how ugly my shot is. But I love the game. I'm obviously in business, and so now the joint of those things, saying, okay, I love this, I like business, I understand business, and now I'm excited to offer something to community, creates a model that should have better revenue. So on that front, cost to get in, how much I can make, what do you report in item 19?
So our best locations are we term it from an EBITDA standpoint. So 25 to 32% are our top tier locations, and those are the types of operators that we're looking more for. So and a lot of those operators and owners are actually ADA holders. So we're really excited about what that future looks like.
And what's the build out cost?
You're probably opening the doors at about $1 million. That's what I tell prospects, is to expect a $1 million loan here or financing for $1 million.
And I assume, maybe I'm wrong. Has anyone also owned the land as a part of this?
Oh, no question. Obviously hedging the bet. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like that's the other turn on these things. Like sometimes when you hear $1 million, now you've gone into a larger investment in the franchise world. But the reality is you have multiple turns on the business. You can exit as a franchisee. You can still be a landlord. You can exit that land, or you can hold on land, be a landlord, still own the land, and have income coming in. Like I think it's such a protection of
well, think about the real estate that we're going to get, right? I mean, we're an industrial and commercial, so you install a garage door on land that you own, you're golden. It's a little bit different than the supercuts or something like that. But I mean, industrial and commercial is such a premium right now that if you own a plot, just put a garage door in, you're good to go.
Have you had former professional athletes look at this brand yet?
Oh yeah, look, our technology sits in 29 of the 30 NBA facilities out there, and brands are using it all the time. From a training standpoint, from a course correction standpoint, we've got 15 to 17 WNBA and NBA either investors or ambassadors or even direct owners. Rodney Stuckey is one of our best locations in Kirkland, Washington. He kind of like paved the way for us, hitting the market as a franchisor. A guy had a great NBA career. Thaddeus Young out of Memphis has a very successful location going. Peyton Siva, who had whose jersey's hanging at the Yum Yum Center in Louisville, had a small stint as an NBA player, then very, very successful overseas. I mean, we've got Breonna Stewart is a huge supporter of ours. We've got a breadth of people that are involved in the brand at that level.
See, I think that's again, like if I go back to the start of this, you solve something from a technology standpoint. Time and money is what stalls out and forces, okay, let's open up the franchise opportunity. What I love about the athletes you just said, you're not saying the big ones, like you take the Papa John's deal with like a Peyton Manning. It wasn't like he was really a franchisee. They gave him the locations in exchange for likeness. You actually have athletes here who probably made good livings in the NBA, but still have to find a way to make that money work beyond their career. And now they're investing in something that can protect the money that they worked hard to earn in a professional career. And I think that's the cool part, right?
And they're coming to us. I mean, Jamal Crawford, this guy had a long NBA, very successful career, who poured money, into our corporate brand to help us grow because he believes in the mission. Zaza Pachulia. I mean, nobody realizes that Zaza Pachulia is a two-time world title guy and is probably the NBA's leading offensive rebound guy. And he owns a location himself in Eastern Europe, in his hometown in Tbilisi, Republic of Georgia, and he's a corporate investor, and he's likely to be our Western European master franchisee. So, I mean, just a lot of great things happening there at that particular level because these people believe, not only do they believe in the brand, we're very core value-centric people. All we want to do is just impact lives through the game of basketball and increase the fan base of basketball. These people are involved in that particular mission, not to create NBA players, but to legitimately just open the aperture of who's participating in basketball.
What scares you about this business?
Oh man, what a good question. The niche obviously is obviously concerning. When you are athletics technology, more specifically basketball technology, and more specifically than that, elite basketball technology, that's kind of how the market can tend to look at us. The really brilliant part about our president and founder is always kind of looking at that particular challenge and looking at the market looks at us and then offering, new ways to understand who we are, new ways to participate in basketball has been the biggest thing that has helped mitigate that concern. So not only are we like 7 to 17, 18 years old, we now are far beyond 17 years old. Like our products are for yourself, myself, people who just love the game to go in there and want to get shots up, compete. I can be in my facility here in Savannah, Georgia. You can be yours in Chicago, and we're in lifetime, competition. And in between quarters of that league game that we might be competing in, I can have a beer, get back out there, and that actually might correct my shot, So now we call it 7 to 70 because there's an entire market out there, millions and millions of people who have kind of matriculated out of competitive basketball, but still just love to play.
I think that last part is a gap that is available. Like obviously, it's any business that drills into wellness for a child or a teenager or a college athlete that's already made it, like to perfect it, great. That's a great marketplace. Take this other side where like the majority of golfers can't golf under 100, but they still enjoy going on there and they enjoy the art of it. And so golf marketed to 7 to probably 100. They marketed to everyone. So you have that one shot and you feel really good. I think basketball has a lot of similarities to it, but it's transformed into like why people go play every Sunday is it's not like they're going to make the NBA. I'm not going to make the NBA at 45 years old, but I enjoy the fitness routine of it. I enjoy the competition side of it. I enjoy the teamwork side of it. Like it stimulates my brain. And for you guys to focus on that, I think it's a tremendous opportunity, obviously, where you're going to continue to grow. What's the dream for the business now? Like obviously crossing over 50 is a great milestone. Like where do you see this going and what happens next?
Well, the Brooklyn Nets opening up a location, on one of the busiest intersections in the world, right across the street from the Barclays Center was huge for us. So, we have our Warriors location, which really led the way into spearheading into the actual NBA location. They were our first NBA brand to open up a franchise location. And then we had some co-branded partnerships with locations in Southern California with the LA Clippers and the Utah Jazz. But the Brooklyn Nets, that was a big deal. That was a big dream for us. We actually held off of that particular territory in the 5 boroughs and even the island because we needed a heavy hitter in the number one media market in the world. And it was, I think, a brilliant call by the franchise development team all the way up to Craig Moody, just to kind of let's just wait and see. And as our partners with the Warriors and the Clippers and the Jazz kind of proved the model, the Nets wanted to jump on board. And I think the other thing that helped us too was installing some of our technology in the Intuit Arena in Southern California. And it's kind of like a fan experience. Yeah. So that was a huge opening for us, which paved the way for the Nets to open their location. So I think that if I was to say the dream, I think it's kind of catapulting off of the Brooklyn Nets opening, which of course was paved by these other opportunities. 100 locations open by the end of next year is a huge goal for us. It's monumental considering the toughness of commercial and light industrial real estate space right now. But we're on our big goal is 300 locations in 3 years.
That's awesome. If there is a candidate who is watching this up to this point, what else do you want them to know about why they should reach out?
Yeah, don't worry about being able to be a great basketball player. Just give me a call. Let's talk it over. If you've got a heart for helping kids, if you want to, have a real big stake in your community, if you want to be the community mayor, if you will, if that's your passion, your calling to change people's lives using the game of basketball, let's get after it. Let's get on the court. Let's get some shots up and let's talk it through.
All right, that was going to be my last question, but now remind me because I think back to you saying I can shoot and then have a beer and maybe the beer will correct my shot. On the investor side, and they're not going to like this statement, so I'm going to say this in front. The pickleball business, they're all the same. There's no point of differentiation. It's a court and a bar and a restaurant, and that's it. And they sell memberships, and they're big $10 million investments. The investments are so high, like even if you support or counter your investment or leverage your investment to own real estate, like that's still a a big piece of land to own, and then what can actually go in there, and obviously the turn of what's happened in the retail market anyway. Because of what you just said, is that like, is this and where the locations are, is this an opportunity to now move basketball into like the Top Golf type world where it is more of like, can you build this into a social experience? Like, and what you said, even in front of the stadium, is that opening up doors? And are the pickleball investments that have gotten so large also an opportunity to drive candidates in for you too?
100%. You know, we compare ourselves a little bit to Top Golf, because what Top Golf has been able to do is make golf accessible to, you know, the masses of the market that enjoy, you know, golf or just want to have a fun experience. Pickleball too. Pickleball is kind of the corrective action that took place when people just didn't want to play tennis anymore. Maybe they got a little bit older or something like that. And so what do? You lighten the ball, you make it a little bit bigger, you shorten the playing field. It's not so bad on the joints, you know, and you got doubles out there. And so you can kind of play a little fast-paced game, but it's easier on the body, and it's a little bit easier to play maybe than tennis. I'm sure there's some pickleball people out there that are just lighting me up right now. But the fact of the matter is that did open up that kind of a game to a lot of people. Right. That's what Shoot 360 is. It has opened the opportunity to participate in something where sports, entertainment, and social all kind of combined there. So we have a product called Shooting Games or Shooting League or Shoot 360 Fit. These are opportunities for people at all ages, at all skill levels, to come in and enjoy the game of basketball in a completely new way. And I just try to tell people, think Top Golf. If you've ever been to a Top Golf, or think pickleball. If you've ever been to pickleball, just add technology to pickleball. And that's what we are.
Well, and that's like those two examples. What it did is it, like, very, very clearly, men in basketball is a larger, and the women are coming up, and so are kids. Mm-hmm. Like, you could see improvement, but men's leagues, older men playing this, like that's more frequent. What Top Golf did, it was still like, you go to a golf course, it's foursomes of men, and then on occasion you see females. And so if you open this up, and everything you just said is opening up an audience to make this, obviously the physical benefits are there no matter what, like you're still like creating motion. But because you're introducing this to a wider range that says you don't have to be a professional athlete to play basketball. You can still have fun with it and have the social component. I love that. I mean, like it's probably going to take you some time. And I think your milestones of 100 and 300 are going to be essential to where you want to get this to. But when you hit those milestones, the amount of humans that you'll be able to interact with on a consumer standpoint to educate them that this is an enjoyable thing to do as a social event could be a transformation of the whole sport, period.
Yeah, well, that's the goal, right? Is transforming how basketball is experienced. One of the things I want to mention about pickleball is that it almost kind of levels the playing field a little bit. You know, I mean, I would consider myself an athlete, played college basketball. You know, I feel like I am pretty active. I step on a pickleball court with my neighbor right down the street, and she's 54 years old. She kicks my ass, you know, pickleball, because there's a little bit of a level playing field that happens there. Right. Think about us in Shoot 360, where me and my boys in one particular, shooting court, there's maybe 3 of us competing against women, who are over here, who can aim it high, let it fly, and absolutely rip the net down. There's a completely new level playing field there where we can actually compete in skill without having to worry about athleticism or physical strength and things like that. It's like they're kicking my tail over there because they can just absolutely shoot it, while we are over here struggling, to actually get the ball in the hole, right? So it's kind of this whole new way to experience competition through the level of the playing field, but also leveling up the competition.
And what better way to do it by your being 1 degree separated or partnered with NBA teams that have audiences that go to the games to create exposure. Because now and eventually, like 50, probably you're right on the tip of the iceberg, but the exposure to education, to opportunity, like
that's right,
you're on the cusp of it, which means like at some point there's going to be pressure to sell this because private equity is going to see that journey is going to, obviously they're already involved in some degree, but like the pressures of this could amount tremendously because you could pave a way for something that's much larger than this, as long as it goes back to what we're talking about at the beginning, as long as you qualify the right operators in, you protect the culture, you make sure those core values are sound with the franchisees that you let in, you don't let any assholes in, then
Right.
you'll have a culture of investment community who are also franchisees who are also on that same mission. Now you've built something that could be innovative for the category. Like the first one that comes to mind is you think back long time ago, Curves, where it was in essence Orange Theory for a women audience, but all it was like, here's how you work out in a group and you get it done. But it was so like mind blowing for the time. Right. And Orange Theory later did it for fitness and extracted this out. And so I can see what you guys are doing, and obviously my excitement's there. I think it's awesome, and clearly like you have the right personality to push this forward. I'm grateful that you gave me some of your time today.
I appreciate that, Nick. Listen, the only thing we want to do is ensure that our participants walk out of our buildings 3 inches taller than the way they walked in. And so there you go.
I love that. I'll take that too. I'm 6'3" though, so 3 more inches. Maybe I could be an NBA player at 45.
Let's go, Nick. Let's get into Naperville, work out, and then you want to buy one. I'm telling you.
All right. Thanks, Brad.
All right, bro.